Anti-Semitism is once again boiling over at Columbia University as anti-Israel protesters storm the classroom of a visiting Israeli professor who just happens to be on your screen right now. Avi Shilon. Shalom, Avi. Thank you for coming on.
Hello, thank you for having me.
All right, my friend. So just tell us right off the bat what exactly happened on that day.
Okay, so it was my first day at Columbia, my first day of class. So usually it is an introduction session, and exactly when we reached the issue of the War of 48, I explained to the students that in my course you are going to learn about the two conflicting narratives. That of the Israelis, that it was a war of independence after the Palestinians refused for the partition plan, and 6 Arab states invaded Israel, and that of the Palestinians that emphasized the Nakba, the result, the catastrophe result of the war. I was almost finishing the sentence, and then someone entered the room one by one, shouting Gaza, genocide, throwing posters or flyers on the students. So I reached them, I invited them to the class. I told them, you are at the right place. This is the place to learn, to study, to express your mind. I'm really open to each and every position. And I just want you to better understand the conflict. So obviously they ignore my request. Then some of the students asked them to leave, and I asked them to get out of the class. They didn't reply, just record themselves. And so I tried in Arabic. I don't know, honestly, I don't know Arabic, but I know a few sentences, of course. So I asked them to get out, and they didn't understand, just like they don't understand the complexity of the conflict. And this is it. Afterward, they went away, and the university supported me and asked me if I want to have a security for the next time. But I think it is crazy to study with a security guy within or outside the door. So I hope that it will not happen again, and we can continue studying and teaching.
You know, I looked at some of the posters that they put out, and there's one of a boot stamping on the Star of David. And, you know, sometimes these anti-Israel protesters is, I feel like, not a strong enough word. These posters are so reminiscent of the posters of the Third Reich in the 1930s. But I think a lot of these folks will say, "Yo, I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm just anti-Israel." How would you respond as an Israeli professor?
Well, I think we should distinguish between being anti-Israel and anti-Semitic, of course, because as you know, even in Israel, or at least myself, I have a lot of criticism toward the Israeli government. Yeah? And it's absolutely fine and absolutely correct. And if, to be honest, you know Israel, if you're familiar with the Israeli society, you can hear much more criticism toward Israel within Israel than outside. The problem is when criticism of Israel came to be, first of all, some sort of violence against Jews. Yeah, and just as like many people in America are very critical of Putin regime. Yeah. So, but you don't see American Russian being targeted by other protests, yeah? So you cannot blame a student just because he's a Jew for the deeds of the Israeli government unless you see all the Jews as a united and a cohesive group that works together, and this is an anti-Semitic point of view. So I would distinguish between anti-Israel and anti-Semitism, but in some cases it's intertwined, of course.
You know, as someone who's been to Israel 30 times, I can speak on that personally, that if there's a saying, I forget exactly, but if you ask a Jewish person or ask two Jewish people opinion, you'll get three answers because there's just so many. And I think that's the beauty. One of the beauties of the state of Israel is that you can speak your mind. You can disagree vehemently with the government, and that doesn't make you anti-Israel. That just makes you an Israeli who has opinions, and that's protected in your law. But I think the question goes to this, which is the accusation that these protesters are saying. They're saying, well, you, Israel, you're committing genocide. And because you're committing genocide, anything that we do is fair. So, as someone who obviously has, a professor who has a liberal mind, but you hear the accusation genocide, what do you think?
Yeah, so first of all, again, if they really believe that Israel is committing genocide, I can understand them. The problem is that it's not true. Yeah? First of all, the claim that Israel is committing genocide was heard already on October 8th, one day after the Hamas horrific attack on Israel. Yeah. So this claim does not really attest to reality, but for perception of the Israeli behavior. It means each and every Israeli military operation is being perceived as a genocide. Yeah. So we need to talk about the term genocide to understand why it isn't genocide. Secondly, I can agree that the Israeli response to the Hamas horrific attack on October 7th was very aggressive. Yeah, I'm not underestimating. But the question is whether it could have been different as long as Hamas is hiding among civilian population. And the demonstration, unfortunately, are not addressing this issue. Because if there is a genocide in Gaza, we all human beings should support the Gazans and should stop the genocide. And one way to stop it is approaching Hamas and tell them stop the war, give up all the hostages. So it's weird. If you think that there is a genocide, you should stop it anyway, and not only vis-a-vis Israel. Okay. Thirdly, it's not a genocide. Unfortunately, it's the nature of this war, which is a very, very complicated war because you are not fighting an army. You are fighting people that can go and be among the civilian population, and it is very hard to distinguish between innocent Gazan and Hamas militant. Thirdly, yes, I think if you ask me personally, I would like Israel to be more cautious. I don't want to see innocent people dying in Gaza. I do think it's a catastrophe, yeah. But I think that if you want to point the blame, you should blame first and foremost Hamas, not only in order to, pointing to the benevolence of Israel. In order to secure the life of the Palestinians, it's better off for them not to have Hamas as the ruling party. So I would like to see the demonstrations with a real concrete demands to have a democratic society in Palestine, in the territories. I would like them to demonstrate against Hamas and its horrific deeds. And I would like them to criticize Israel if they think so. But I wouldn't like them to use smear accusation with anti-Semitic shape or even content, yeah? Because first and foremost, it's not conducive to the peace, yeah? Secondly, it's wrong. Thirdly, you are actually intimidating, you are students intimidating other students just because they are Jews, or more accurately, not all my students are Jews, of course. So you are attacking students just because they want to learn about Israel. It's crazy.
Yeah, I agree completely. When we're filming this, actually on International Holocaust Remembrance Day, and I like to think of myself as somewhat of a student of the Holocaust. I've been to Auschwitz a couple times, been to Yad Vashem in Jerusalem many times, and so unfortunately, I can see a lot of the early phases repeating, or the words that are being saying, that the things that are becoming, for lack of a better word, kosher to say on American college campuses is pretty scary. So in closing, Avi, first off, just again, thank you for coming on. But if you could have a message to young Americans, to young college American students who are confused, who read and see a lot of things on Twitter and TikTok, what would your message be to the next generation of American leaders?
So for the American leaders or for the American students?
It's students that will become leaders eventually.
Okay, so first of all, for the American students, my main message is please study the conflict. Please come to my class or other classes and understand the complexity of this conflict. To see Israel as Goliath and the Palestinians as David, or even vice versa, to see Israel as David and their Goliath, it's wrong. It's more complicated. And I promise you that once you immerse yourself in the study of Israel and the conflict, your point of view will change. For the future to the current American leadership, I think that, yeah, you are actually right. There are some things that are very disturbing because they are resemblance to the 30s in Europe. And if you would have asked the Nazis in the 30s, they wouldn't say that we are racist and we want to kill the Jews. They would tell you that we are doing something good for the world. So we need to understand that things that people are saying, even if they don't understand that they are replicating the Nazis, they are getting close with their attitude. And I think that in our era, it's highly important to secure all minorities. Now it's the Jews, it can be the Muslims, it can be other groups, and we should utilize the last year and the ugly demonstration in order to fix it this year and in the coming year.
Avi Shilon, toda רבה, אחי. Thank you so
תודה
much for
רבה
coming
לך.
on, my friend.
Thank you.